Good morning, everybody. Tara here with the Wifey Wake Up podcast. And today we're talking about why I love to serve my husband. And it wasn't always this way, as you might imagine. You might or might not. I want to emphasize at the beginning here, too, that Wifey Wake Up and Wifey School is all based on my experience of being married to my wonderful husband for almost just shy of 24 years now. We have been together for 24 years. And it's all based on, it wasn't perfect right away. I mean, things are really wonderful right away, but you will learn as life goes on. And so that's what I'm sharing in today's podcast, especially is, from the beginning, I think many of us really do love to serve the person and the people that we love. And especially in marriage, as life goes on, as you go through the hardships, you go through the daily life, right? What you usually would do for this person that you love soon can become a burden. And it may not just be your spouse, it might be other family members, kids even. And I think this is something that's incredibly important because when you address it, it can really save your relationships. And it can really help you, and I'm speaking to women primarily because I'm a woman and this is what I've gone through. It's also about going through daily life feeling better, generally happier in your everyday occurrences. And that was something that really, when I've had aha moments, there was kind of an era of my life where I had kind of an aha era. And you'll hear in today's podcast and tips some of the things that I discovered through this period. So first of all, it's important to start out, why I love to serve my husband is primarily because I love him. And I think all of us, when we start out our relationships, we do start out that way. We're infatuated with this person. We just love and adore them, and we want to impress them even. And so doing the little things like picking something up at the grocery store, or making a special meal, or making a special trip, or doing something we might not normally like to do, we do because we're trying to appeal to them. And eventually, if we get to the love stage, it is because we also love them. You do things for the people that you love that you don't do for the people that you don't love, or have no significance in your life in that way. So that's primary. That's first and number one. Next, I like to define words because it's important that we understand what we're all talking about when we use a word. Because it's so easy, especially these days with words definitions really literally being changed. What are we actually talking about? So when I say to serve, according to the Oxford Dictionary, it's to perform duties or services for another person or organization. Simple enough, right? Well, by the way, if you go to Merriam-Webster, there's like almost 24 definitions. So I like that simple definition. And what is important to note is that to serve is a choice. It's not slavery. It's not something that you must do and you have to do. It is a choice, and number one. So I like to say that these words that have kind of become taboo and a point of contention in today's world and today's relationships, they're not four-letter words. We've just been taught and we've learned and we've accepted that these words have other definitions. And so I want to emphasize that to serve is to perform duties or services for another person or organization, and it's a choice. And if you love someone, why would it be, as long as it's not illegal or immoral, especially immoral, why would it be an issue? But I'm talking about the simple things, okay? So let's get down to the basics. So again, I've been through this. I know that it's doing the dishes once again can be a pain, that preparing another meal can seem like a chore, picking up his socks in order to put them into the appropriately colored laundry it can be annoying, right? And it's those little things that can build up over time. Where in the beginning, when we were first together and first living together, it's like, oh, I'm playing house, and it's not a big deal. Oh, isn't that cute? Okay, well, he's kind of he doesn't quite get them into the hamper, right? Okay, note to self. And in the beginning, it might not be a big deal. Now, it might be a big deal, and you address that right away. And maybe you set a standard. But let's just say from the beginning, these are things that were not such a big deal to you. And this idea I've had in my mind for quite a while, because the word to serve, I think, has been flipped around inappropriately. That it's where when you're serving someone you love, or even an organization that you appreciate the mission, you do so out of love. It's not an act of service when it's someone you love. It's an act of love. And so I was thinking about this morning as I was rubbing my husband's feet. He's not feeling well this morning. And thinking about the times where I used to maybe feel annoyed by even doing something like that. He's not feeling well. And I know whether he's feeling well or not, he loves to have his feet rubbed. And so I've been striving to offer that more rather than him having to ask. And doing so because I love him, and not because I feel like it's a duty or something that I should do, but really, how do I've been working on and have been successful at, thankfully, really doing that out of the genuine love that I have for him, not just because he asked, or, like I said, it's a sense of duty. And there are a few steps that I had to go through to get to that point, because like I think many women go through in their relationships, there's a point where you just get tired of it. And I don't think it's because you actually don't love the person. It's just you've allowed life to get in the way. And so I'm going to give you a few tips on how you can kind of push life aside again and get to what matters. So number one is to not take it personally. If he leaves his socks out, for example, I've made a game of it, and it's not to, I mean, I've gotten this commentary before, like, he's so childish. Why would you allow him to treat you that way? And I don't see it that way. I don't see it as him acting childish. I've known he was that way from the beginning. And I just simply choose not to see it that way, that he's treating me poorly because he takes his socks off when he's at the couch, and when he's getting ready to go to bed, he doesn't think of picking them up and putting them in the hamper. I just choose not to see it that way, because he doesn't do it personally to actually make me upset or treat me like I'm lesser than him. It's just something that he does. And in addition, I'll make it fun sometimes. And when I'm picking up or looking for, I'll ask, are there any more whites? I'm washing whites. Are there any more whites? Or I'll ask him, or maybe I'll just go around, take a look around the house. I know the spots that he usually puts them. And I'll say, I got the prize. I found 4 sets today. And just kind of make it a funny thing, rather than, you left your socks out again. I had to go hunting for them, and here they are again. That, first of all, just not taking it personally. And kind of 1.1a to that is sometimes you can just make it fun and funny and turn it around. 2 is, if it really is becoming an issue, to have an adult conversation. And that might be, so for example, there was a large period of time, a couple years, where I had very large projects going on for work, and like my mind was just so in that work, and then my time was very dedicated to that work, and it was a stretch to think about him more, or to the degree that I know he likes to be considered. And so I would have to have conversations like, I want to be there for you. I'm just not mentally there. I'm so busy thinking about these things. And he's very much a participant in the home anyways, and will, cook things that he just wants to eat and likes them done his way anyways. But I noticed him doing dishes more often, Or, we kind of have a joke where he got a Roomba and he says, okay, I'm going to vacuum today. And then he turns on the Roomba, you know, and again, going back to step one, don't take it personally that he's turning on a machine to do his work. It makes it way more fun and way lighter in our household when I then turn it around and say, you haven't vacuumed in the last couple days, you turn it on, and he makes the $1,000 investment in the equipment to get the job done. It gets done either way, and that's what matters. And by having those adult conversations, we got to that point. Men are natural problem solvers. So if you converse with him in a way that is, you kind of assess where you're at instead of complaining like, oh, I do the dishes and I do the laundry all the time and I've been at work and doing this and I'm just so busy and tired and overwhelmed. You can say those same things in a calm manner and just more matter of factly and say, I'm really busy right now. I've been distracted. My mind is on work a lot, or whatever other activity it might be. I'm not feeling well, and allow him also to come up with a solution. He likely will. That's a guy's natural way of being, and you may be very surprised in the results. Let's see. Another thing is, so those are just very practical tips. If it's still bothering you, or do this in addition, number 3 is remember what your attitude was about these things when you first got together. Like my earlier example, when you're first living together, you're kind of playing house, right? It's like, oh, I'm doing the dishes. And he comes up behind you and, is all snuggly and snuggly. Or you're making a meal and it's just, you're just delighted to present it to him. Sometimes just recalling those thoughts and feelings of how it was in the beginning can help to rekindle those thoughts, feelings, and states of being. And that's something, definitely don't overlook that. Even though it's number 3, I think that's something you can go back to often. Number 4 is simplify. And along with that is maybe you're expecting too much of yourself. We women can tend to think that, I've got to do all the dishes and get everything done and get the kitchen all clean before the night is over. Or the house has to look a certain way, or we need to make a certain income and our lifestyle has to look a certain way. And we put this pressure on ourselves that puts pressure on us, right? And so then the regular daily activities that really never go away. I mean, even if you have a housekeeper, you have to clean up for the housekeeper, right? And so it ends up becoming more of a burden as we add more things into our life. So I know I've had to consider for myself, how important is this? Okay, me getting the dishes done tonight, how important is that? Can they sit until tomorrow? Okay, well, there's a lot of food in there, so they at least need to be rinsed out. And if they're rinsed out, I might as well go all the way and do the whole thing. Okay, so that's pretty important. How important is it that the garbage goes out right now, or the entire house is cleaned, right? And I'm talking more about household stuff because I think that is what tends to get on our nerves more, are the daily things that we're seeing. So number 4 is simplify where you can. Absolutely simplify where you can, and reconsider, are you putting too high of expectations on yourself and even you as a couple in life? What would things look like if they were simplified, and how much more laid back could you be? So an example from my life would definitely be the dishes thing. How clean does the kitchen really need to be? And another thing would be just what I expect out of like our life and lifestyle. So we have kind of an atypical household. I'd love to have, the standard 2-story, actually I prefer a Rambler, a ranch style home, but we just don't. And our life is so much simpler and enjoyable because of how we live, which is kind of atypical from standard. It's kind of hard to explain, but than trying to have it all. We have it all in other ways where we'll go mountain biking in the afternoons or on the weekends. We'll have it all in a different way where we have more time together. And it is in the long run, and really when it comes to quality of life, uh, that's more important to us. So let's see, number 5. Something else to consider is I think men typically will do a lot of things in their domain of work that they don't tell us that they're doing. And I've seen this in comment forums. I actually find it rather amusing. When I see this topic being brought up, he will be like, the husband will be like, she doesn't know how many times I've cleaned hair out of the drain, or I'm cleaning makeup away from the sink so that I can use it, or taking care of the vehicles or the lawn or cleaning the garage, because he just doesn't mention it. And I'm definitely guilty of this. He just goes about doing things and I don't know about them. So part of it is even just asking him, what is it that you're doing that I might not know about, so that I can just be aware of and appreciate that as well. And that can even, in a way, alleviate that stress of, I'm doing all these things, and see really how he is doing that, and you likely don't even know about it. And those are such practical advice, but it really works to clear up the space so that you can relieve the pressure off of yourself, whether it's just even in your mind by reframing things, literally in your life by removing things that are not necessary and are getting in your way of really enjoying life together. And then also rekindling that feeling, rekindling that deep down love that you love taking. For example, my husband loves this white cake cupcakes that I make. It's a cake recipe, but I make them into cupcakes, and he just loves them. Or rubbing his feet. It's something that takes time out of my day, and even the leisure time that I might normally have. And it's something that he just absolutely loves, and is definitely not a service so much that I'm providing, but an act of love. And especially when I see it in that light, it helps me to want to do it out of love even more. And I love being in the kitchen and cooking and baking anyways. So I have since I've really made these realizations, also reprioritized my life so that I am carving out that space because I love doing it anyways. And if he enjoys it on top of it, or the results, it's really a win-win situation. Same thing about rubbing his feet. I know I brought this up like 3 or 4 times already, but he really loves it. And if you know that that's something that he really loves, do it, right? And my final point here is I'm going to suggest if the thought is coming up in your mind, and he's commenting here, John, what is that emoji? Is it what I think it is? So my final thought here is you might be thinking, yeah, that sounds good, but I haven't seen anything from him for years, so why would I start? Why should I start doing that? And number 1, oh, that's a cupcake? That totally doesn't look like a cupcake, John. Sorry, you guys seeing the recording won't see this in the comments, but all right. Lastly is if you're like, he hasn't done anything for me for years, you've basically gone off into silence in your separate corners. If you really want to have a good relationship and you're sticking in your relationship anyways, you might as well take it upon yourself to make things better. And I would challenge you to commit a whole month to doing these things, and rekindling that thought and those thoughts and feelings within yourself, clearing out your space, reorganizing your life in your mind and in your actual life, so that you can do these things. First of all, time-wise, you have time to also change the thought process around in your mind, and then but you have to do it without expecting anything from him. You can't say like, hint, hint, look what I did. Wouldn't you like to do something for me? Or anything of the sort. It has to be a genuine experiment. And even though it's an experiment, it still has to be a genuine attempt, 100%. And you will be surprised by the results. Again, you can't expect results and you can't hint at him of what you're doing and why you're doing it. But I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised by the results. And I guess the consequence is, if the consequence is living in separate corners, becoming more and more resentful of each other, different corners of the home, symbolically is what I mean, or even getting divorced. I mean, what do you have to lose? You have way more to lose. You have way more to gain, is another way of saying it, by giving it a shot for a whole month. Yeah, you're lucky to have a wife who bakes. I find a lot women tend to prefer the baking part. It's the cooking. I hear a lot of women don't like the cooking part. I like both, especially if I have just a large swath of time to do it. I think it's really enjoyable, but I think it's part of my personality as well. But I think there are ways, it's like anything in life. You can shift your mindset, even something that you don't normally like to do. You can shift your mindset so that you can do it with a better attitude. Yes, my husband says he bakes also. Yeah, he's a great cook as well. So those are today's thoughts. It was definitely something I wanted to address eventually anyways, that to serve is not a 4-letter word. But it definitely came to the fore more this morning as I was rubbing my husband's feet. John, I hope you're feeling better. And he's in the other room. That's how we roll. All right. So I would love to hear your comments, guys and ladies. What is your perspective on this? Maybe, men, what does it mean to you when she is serving you? And what do you personally see as acts of service? Yeah, that's good when you can both contribute. It's definitely a win-win. 6 is saying that I used to, but I like my wife's food far more. Well, that's a wonderful thing. And that's really just the benefit of being a great couple, right? Is that you can lean on each other when you need to. So would love to hear from you all. Definitely please subscribe, share this with a friend you think might benefit from this or enjoy this. And check out down below. I have some more resources and a tip jar. I don't know if I thought about changing it into like our 25th anniversary jar, maybe a honeymoon 25th anniversary honeymoon jar, so you can see that it's not just for me, that can benefit the couple. Would love that support as well. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure, and have a wonderful day, everybody. Take care.